Okay, I think we're ready to get started. I want to thank everyone for joining our webinar today. This is the first of several webinars we're going to have over the next week. My name is Ryan Jensen. I'll be kind of helping us get started today. I just want to remind everyone there's a chat function in the Zoom meeting and also a Q&A section you should be able to click on to ask questions as you go along. And we'll be sure to pause things as we go. So let's start with introductions really quick. Again, my name is Ryan Jensen. You'll see my mugshot here. I'm the bald guy up top. I'm the Senior Enterprise Customer Success Manager here at Jolt. So basically what that means is I've worked closely along with Travis Jackman. You see there overlooking the city of Chicago. Fun picture there. And Travis and I, we've been working closely with McDonald's headquarters, working with a lot of key people there over the last 8 or 9 months through the course of the Digital Food Safety and Shift Management Pilot. So we've worked closely with Daryl Kellenberger, Matt Jenkins, Tim Brown, several other key people there. And we've also worked closely with the pilot that we've conducted, which started last fall and has continued into January until we were approved and announced as an approved vendor by McDonald's. And so we're really excited to be here today. We also have a special guest today. If we could, we'd like to welcome Carli Schrader. Let's have Carli go ahead. If you could introduce yourself, Carli, to the audience and tell us a little bit about your background as well.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Carli Schrader. I'm a third-generation owner-operator out of Stockton, California. We're just south of Sacramento. We started our company in 1966 when my grandfather was he was the first business consultant in California. And we planted our roots in Stockton because they had great special needs education for my aunt who had Down syndrome. Since my grandfather's somewhat retired, we've grown from 11 restaurants to 43, and we love the Jolt platform.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Carli. Really appreciate you joining us today. And each of our webinars this week, we're going to have a special guest who's an owner-operator or member of an operator team joining us to speak about Jolt and share and co-present with us. So, Carli, thanks for being here with us. So we want to jump into a quick agenda here. Our plan is to just spend about 10 or 12 minutes just doing a quick company overview. As everyone knows, the McDonald's Worldwide Convention was unfortunately canceled. We were all looking forward to the chance to meeting so many of you at that event. So this is kind of our way, is providing an opportunity for us to help you meet us and learn a little bit about Jolt as well. We want to do a preview of the solution for McDonald's and talk through the advantages there for both digital food safety and shift management. And then we also want to get into kind of a demo and training as well. That Travis is on the call and he will be kind of walking through that demo. So you'll be hearing from him in a second. And along the way, the reason we've have Carli here is so that she can share best practices and success stories from her utilization of Jolt with her team as well. So again, there's a Q&A section in the Zoom meeting. Feel free to add any questions you have along the way, and we're happy to answer those as we go. And again, at the end, we'll have formal time for Q&A as well. So, okay, so quick overview of Jolt. So we actually our founder started the company, actually he was running a Baskin-Robbins restaurant, as you can see there on the screen, and back in 2012. And basically, on a New Year's Eve, he got a call from an employee that said that the generator had gone out. They were about to lose thousands of dollars of ice cream product. And he said, there's got to be an easier way for us to know what's going on at the restaurant. And basically, that's where Jolt was founded. It was founded on the idea of having automated notifications of refrigeration sensors to know the status of equipment and knowing what's going on at the restaurant location. That quickly segued into digital food safety checklists and knowing what's going on with the cleanliness and how to basically have some more accountability with staff as they're keeping the restaurant clean and tidy, and especially with digital food safety and making sure things are tested. So we've grown really fast over the last 7 or 8 years, hit a huge milestone at the end of last year where we hit 1 billion tasks completed across the Jolt platform. We have now over 16,000 restaurant locations utilizing the Jolt platform across 25 countries. So we're really excited about the growth we've had and now to be able to formally work with McDonald's as an approved vendor. We're really proud also of the reviews we've had on Capterra and G2 Crowd. On the next slide, you can see those reviews. We've just consistently been rated as the most user-friendly platform in the space. We're really proud of that and our customer service. Another thing we're really proud of is our customer success team. So basically, so that you guys know on the call, if you were to sign up with Jolt, every Jolt operator receives a dedicated customer success manager that helps through implementation consulting, helps with configuring those lists to make sure they're customized to your location, helps with the rollout plan execution, training expertise, and long-term adoption and success. So these are some of the folks that are from our customer success manager team. Great thing about our team, we have a dedicated team just for McDonald's. So Greg is on our call today as well, Greg Hymas, who's actually the customer success manager that's worked with Carli and her group. And Greg's that top one at the top there. And we're really proud of this team, and it's a great value add for operators who are signing up with Jolt to know they've always got someone they can call and work with to help offer consulting. And on the next slide, we have basically also our training team, or excuse me, our support team that offers 24/7 support. We have extensive training videos, webinars like this. There's offline training available in the Jolt app. Basically, there should be no shortage of help and assistance and resources for any operators who sign up with Jolt. Carli, really quick, if you could maybe chime in, just what's been your experience with the support team, the trainings resources, and your customer success manager as you signed up with Jolt for your team?
I was hoping you would ask that. Greg is amazing. If any of you, I'm sure Greg, your counterparts are wonderful as well. But Greg has made sure that every step of the process, we were able to have the support we needed and the training we needed. Just like many of you, we have some older managers who've been in the system a long time and are used to doing things on paper. So getting them in the groove of getting set up and using a digital platform is sometimes scary. But Greg and his team were definitely able to hop on a call or to send via emails. And there's even some amazing training videos in the Jolt platform that can be accessed anytime that have been really helpful. One story about how amazing Greg and his team are, when we were setting up all of our restaurants to go live, we received an error setting up one of the restaurants, and we didn't know what the error meant, but when our team member who was setting up the restaurants called me down the hallway, before I could get back to my office to call Greg and ask him what was going on, I had an email in my inbox saying, hey, we saw you had an error. This is what we need to do. We've set this up on our end. Let us know if you have any problems. You should be good to go. And that right there was very telling that the customer support at Jolt is nothing that we would be able to compare to going with any other platform.
Awesome, Carli. Well, yeah, we're really proud of that team, and glad that you're having that experience. And we hope that everyone who signs up with Jolt has that same experience. That's our goal from our customer success team. So thanks, Carli. So really quick, we want to preview for those on the call. If you sign up for Jolt, we want to preview just how simple the onboarding process is so that you know kind of what happens. So basically, first step is your hardware, right? Making sure that you've ordered the MFT pyrometer. That's the primary designated probe that McDonald's headquarters has said that operators should use. Great thing is you can use any other Bluetooth functional pyrometer or probe as well. And then we also want to make sure you've got your either an iOS or Android tablet. We have, for a limited time, promotional offers to be able to purchase iPads at a discounted rate. And we'll talk more about that at the end of the call. But the great thing about Jolt is that you can bring your own device. So you can bring an iOS or Android tablet. We do have minimum hardware recommendations that we want to make sure that you've got that covered as well. And then with that hardware, you've got offline capabilities. So if there's ever a connection that's down, you can continue to complete your digital food safety and checklists, and then that data will sync back up. And we'll talk more about that as we go through the demo with Travis. And then step two is just downloading the Jolt app to your device, and you can download that from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. And as Carli alluded to, we've got great getting started videos that walk you through this whole process, really simple and straightforward. Once you've downloaded the Jolt app, you'll connect that to your device to your Jolt account, and that leads to kind of the third step, which is setting up your list. So a lot of operators have this question initially and say, hey, we know your lists come preloaded with everything that McDonald's corporate says that we would need in any conceivable format or scenario. And basically that's one of the first things we do is we provide a questionnaire for you that you can quickly customize those lists with just what's applicable for your restaurant locations, so that when you get into the Jolt app, you're only seeing the items that are relevant to your store. And the great thing is that you could do a training call with our CSM and even do that yourself as well. So it's again, with service we provide to make that quick at the beginning, or you could do it yourself, and we train you long-term how you can make those changes as well, which we'll talk about today. And then the fourth thing is just your rollout plan, and that's where your CSM can work with you to talk through that rollout plan, share best practices of what's worked with other locations, whether you want to have a flagship store and make that really successful and then go to your other locations. Also, we talked through leadership training, if we want to do any webcast training with your GMs or area supervisors, and also talk through kind of the change management of moving from paper to digital, which, that there's a change component there that needs to be talked through. So if we go to the next slide, one of the next key things is configuring your list, which we talked about. You want to make sure that's clear that the questionnaire, here's kind of a screenshot of what that looks like. It's just a Google form that we surface to you that you can then fill out for every one of your restaurants. On this example, how many coolers do you have at this location on the startup menu, for example? And as you go through and fill that out, then the CSM will help configure that early on so your lists are configured. And then what happens is on the back end in the Jolt admin web portal, we sort and deactivate those items that you've configured to the list items that are relevant for you. And that's all done. There's a screenshot there of the web portal of where that's done on the back end. And what's the great thing again is that you can do this all yourself as an operator in making those changes. And then what we do is all of that then syncs up with your Jolt app on your tablet device, and those lists show up as it's been configured. So that's an important question I think a lot of operators have, of how quick that can happen right at the beginning to get going with your lists. As we back up and just look at onboarding process, Carli, is there any success stories or any best practices or tips you would share with the audience of what helped you guys be successful with your onboarding and implementation of Jolt?
Definitely. I would agree that the questionnaire for the list setup is very important. Otherwise, unlike paper food safety, where you can just kind of pencil whip things, you'll actually receive an error that you'll need to have corrective action if you don't have a reach in at your drive-through window or something. In addition to the configuration list for the actual equipment, we created a Google form for adding your managers in, and adding each individual manager in is very important, because then you can go back and actually see, and I'm sure that Travis will get into this in a little bit, but you can actually see who is properly completing food safety and who's not. And that way you can go back and coach that individual person rather than just saying, hey, entire restaurant, what's the deal? But you only have one person that just needs a little more love and affection to figure out how to do food safety. For the rollout, it's really important, in my opinion, that the training aspect is there. So we have 9 supervisors. We have one that ran the beta test on his restaurants. And then moving forward, that beta test restaurant supervisor trained each of the supervisors. And from there, they had 1 week to choose one restaurant to roll out. And then every week forward, they were able to spend time in one restaurant doing food safety, because we all do food safety around the same time. And that way we knew that whole week every manager was getting trained, and now they're moving smooth sailing.
That's awesome. And Carli's group's been phenomenal, and it really has shown how quick a large group can get going. And as Carli just talked about, leveraging the leadership and the supervisors in that way, I think is a really important component to that change management adoption piece. So thanks, Carli. That's awesome. Yeah, so moving forward, just to kind of preview a couple other things. So the solution itself, we'll just kind of zip through these slides really quick here, but this is Johnny Silvetta has actually been a local store manager here near us. We're based just south of Salt Lake City, just so everyone knows. And they quickly found, as they used Jolt, that they could now complete food safety with one person instead of 2. And that was a huge deal for them. And they saw that same thing, same pattern across their 30 plus locations. And as you look at this, as we look at using Jolt, going on to the next slide here, before, Carli just alluded to this, that pencil whipping is it can be a real nuisance, right? And that's one of the real goals of moving from from paper or other solutions to Jolt is the accuracy you get there. And we'll talk about that here in a second. And the visibility and accountability that you create with individual logins. The productivity bottlenecks, like using, one person completing food safety instead of two. And then, the anxiety around audits can be a real issue, right? Especially if everything's on paper. And with Jolt, the compliance and the peace of mind to know that's all there in a digital format really makes that a lot easier. And on the next slide, this is Jonathan McGuire, another one of our users, who he just loves the auto capture function of Jolt. So as they're completing food safety, the MFT pyrometer syncs right up with Jolt to auto capture that temperature and moves right up to the next item, which is a really big deal. There's a quick, go to the next slide, actually. We can show a quick demo here, a 30-second video. Let's just hit play on that. And basically what you'll see here is how easy the process is. Oh, whoops. Let's go back to that real quick here. I guess we'll do this first, I guess, before that demo. But the MFT pyrometer, this is basically the primary pyrometer that's been designated by McDonald's. Every operator who signs up with McDonald's will get a link to order that MFT pyrometer through Frankie, which is the reseller of that. And Jolt has been configured to have an optimized experience with that. The great thing, though, is if you have probes or other pyrometers that have Bluetooth functionality, that will still sync up and work fine with Jolt. So those can be used as backups as well. But again, this is real key to the accuracy within Jolt. Maybe let's show that demo or that quick video real quick. And we can kind of show the process really briefly. This is a 30-second walkthrough of the process. So you can see that basically what happens here is as you probe the proteins, for example, with the MFT pyrometer, what happens is really quickly it stabilizes, then auto captures that, and then moves right on to the next item. So the speed and the accuracy of that is really a big deal, which is what Jonathan McGuire and so many of the folks who are using Jolt have just loved about it, to help the staff just feel confident in the attempts they're getting, and to know that they can move on to those items, know that the probe has been used accurately and effectively to get those reports coming out of that. Carli, maybe we could ask you real quick, what's been your experience as you've completed food safety at your location and utilizing the pyrometers syncing up with Jolt?
This is similar to, I believe it was Jonathan's comment or quote, the one person food safety is huge. As you can see in this picture, you hold the tablet with one hand and you just probe it. It will tell you, as you can kind of see it in the video, where it's stabilizing. So there isn't any risk of, having a crew person being the one that's temping and then a manager writing. You have somebody being like, oh yeah, this is at 160, when really that thermometer is not stable yet. So it's not giving you the real time. So you're just more accurate all across the board. We were on the Ecolab test last year or the year before. And so we did have a few spare old version of the Bluetooth pyrometers, and those do work if you're in a pinch where you want to start Jolt right away and you're waiting for Frankie to ship out the Bluetooth pyrometers, seeing as shipping these days is a little delayed. You can use those old version, and you can use the same probes that you have in the restaurant right now, and it'll work just fine.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Carli. And their team, again, has been really awesome and really already has incredible completion rates with food safety with the Golden State Restaurant Group. So obviously some awesome leadership there going on as well with Carli. So also on the accuracy, we want to talk about this. So Carli alluded to this. This is just a preview of if temps come. So right now we're you can see that screenshot there. We're in the list and then regular menu. If temps come out of range, it'll trigger a food safety thumbs down icon that will basically say, hey, there's a flag here that needs to be taken care of, and it triggers a required corrective action. And then you can see that sub list that then pops up as well. Another key thing within Jolt is you can see Allison Gomez in this example. She actually is the one who logged in. She has her own PIN. And so each user within Jolt has a unique login. And what happens as soon as they log in, you can see that Allison, this is time-stamped her name and date and time with every item she's completed within the list, which is a really big deal for active managerial control, right? To make sure that you know exactly who's doing what, and if there's mistakes that are being made or anything else, that provides some real good training opportunities for the operator. Carli, just on that note, is there anything, has that been helpful for your group, or have you guys leveraged kind of that individual training and accountability to trigger any training needs across your staff or locations?
100%. Our supervisors are looking at who's not completing properly or who constantly has to make corrective action, and going back and having one-on-ones with those individuals, including their restaurant manager. Because like I said before, some of the older restaurant managers, it takes them some time to get comfortable and be able to coach and go through the reports. But as long as you have, your supervisor or your owner operator who's confident in looking at these reports, it teaches the restaurant manager. So now we're a few months in and the restaurant managers are able to make that one-on-one training happen without having any prompting.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a really powerful tool. I know Carli's talked about how beneficial that is to her team. And really, whether you have a large group or a small group, I mean, that kind of accountability is really a big deal, to know exactly what's going on. So awesome. Thanks, Carli. On the next slide real quick, that key we just talked about, know what's going on, right? You'll see kind of three different screenshots here that, again, we're going to get into here with Travis. But the top there is the admin web portal that is on the back end that you'll log into with Jolt. That's where all the back end settings are configured for the app on the tablet. And you can see that screen at the top. It's kind of a small image there, but again, we'll show this. But it basically shows all of the locations across your franchise, and where you can actually drill down to see exactly what's going on at each location. And again, that provides that kind of high-level leadership oversight and visibility that Carli was just talking about. And then on the tablet itself, that image on the bottom left there, this is the DFS last 60 days report. So for example, eliminating the hassle of paper is huge, right? So when your operations associate shows up for an unannounced audit or from the health department or whatever, you can pull this up in the reports tab and have your last 60 days all ready to go, and drill down to any of those lists with the auditor right there and see that history and see everything that's there. And again, Travis will get into this in more detail. Another thing that's great of knowing what's going on is you can actually set up notifications in Jolt as well, which basically you can set up through text messaging if that's allowed in your state, or email notifications as well. So you can know immediately if a required list has not been completed, or if there's some other notification that you want to set up, you can configure all that in Jolt on the back end as well. So really, really powerful, robust capabilities within the tool. The next slide, we basically just want to highlight shift management as well. So we're an approved vendor for digital food safety as well as shift management. So a lot of operators love this as well about Jolt, where they can leverage the travel path or pre-shift checklist that we've configured. And again, those can be customized as well through that same list setup questionnaire we talked to at the beginning. We have a questionnaire as well for shift management to configure those lists so that the lists show up with just the items that are relevant to you on a mobile device as well. I think we mentioned that before. I want to make sure people know that. And then with that shift management, I mean, the key is cleanliness, consistency, and speed, right? Especially right now with COVID-19, lists like this and being able to build lists that basically enhance sanitization capabilities is something that is really obviously a huge need right now. We here at Jolt, we've actually built some preloaded COVID-19 sanitization lists. So if at the end of this webinar, if you just reference the name of this webinar, we can actually share that content with you if you're interested, if you do sign up with Jolt, and that'd be free, just preloaded content. The great thing though is about Jolt is if you see a need like COVID-19, for example, we've had operators like Jonathan McGuire's group, for example, has already been building their own lists for COVID-19 and sanitization. So great thing here is you see on the image, you can actually take pictures along the way to document the cleanliness of like the soda machine or just various stations as you're going through the travel path. You can also use QR codes, which you could use to scan as you go through each station or bathrooms or wherever the corral or anything throughout the facility. And again, that visibility and documentation of that is really a big deal with Jolt. On the next slide, it actually shows how you could even customize your own video. You could actually embed a media file within the list to prompt staff if there's something specific that you want to make sure they're trained on or aware of right within Jolt. So really powerful tools within Jolt, not only for digital food safety, but also for shift management, pre-shift, travel path, as well as like COVID-19 and that experience. I think everyone on the call probably is already aware of the pricing. We just want to make sure this is clear. At MCD portal, pricing is available there, but basically our offering is $39.99 per month for a 12-month commitment for the DFS and shift management package. A lot of great solutions that are available there. And then we also have the DFS standalone, which is also available at $29.99 a month. Most operators are going with that $39.99 package. That's definitely the higher value package that we have available. So maybe we could pause really quick. Carli, anything else you want to add just generally before we hop over to the demo? And we can also pause to see if there's any questions that have come through as well. But Carli, anything else you would add before we jump into the demo? Answer any other questions?
When you were talking about emails, sorry, Ryan, I didn't want to interrupt you, but one thing that I think is amazing about the emails is for most platforms, you get one email per day, however you have it set up, per restaurant. And with Jolt, I get a roll up each morning. So I can see my top 5 and my bottom 5 restaurants and the link to see all of them in between. But I don't have to get 40 emails in my inbox every morning that I'm just going to ignore, because at that point, viewing 40 emails, you can't remember who was good and who was bad and who needs opportunity training. So the roll up is huge. So thank you guys so much for having that.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys are leveraging that. Appreciate you chiming in on that, because it's certainly a very different scenario to know exactly what's going on versus using paper and not knowing until you do specific follow-ups. So awesome. Let's see. I'm not seeing that we have any specific questions right now. I'll just check the Q&A. And while we're checking that for questions, maybe Travis, will hand things over to you to kind of walk through the demo itself. Just make sure we have any other questions that are coming through. Maybe while we're doing that, Carli, if you could also speak to some operators may want to ask, how did you finally make the decision? I know you were part of our pilot, but maybe you could talk through the decision process to go with Jolt and what kind of convinced you and your team that this was the right solution for you guys.
Absolutely. My mom always said that if you don't have anything nice to say, not to say it. So I'm going to try to keep my comments very nice. But we beta tested 2 restaurants on Jolt and 2 restaurants on in another platform. And the customer service that we received from Greg and team, as I said before, they're amazing. We didn't necessarily get that same help with the other platform. We weren't able to customize any of the lists as we really wanted to. It was really just, here's what you get and don't throw a fit. This is what the book looks like on paper, so this is what you're going to get digitally. And that didn't really work for us, because you'd still receive an error that you didn't complete something when you don't have a second refrigerator, or you don't have a reach in this area. So for that aspect, we didn't necessarily love it. Our managers, the feedback from them was overwhelmingly positive towards Jolt. Just the aspect that they could click on a link within the tablet. If they were stuck doing something, they click the training tab and they can watch a video right then and there. They can also watch McDonald's videos, so that if they wanted to train somebody on food safety, they just click the button within the tablet. They don't have to go find another iPad for Fred training. They don't have to go to a computer. They can all do everything within that one tab. The shift management tools are super cool. Taking a picture versus, can you go check the corral? Okay, checking it's one thing. Taking a picture of the lid's down and it's locked and there's not junk everywhere. And then you can actually go back and see who is doing and who isn't doing. One thing they didn't talk about, and Ryan, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention it, but the labels platform within Jolt is sweet. So we're actually able to load in our food safety, the labels for, timing all of the different items and the ingredients into the Jolt platform. You click a button on the tablet and it prints through a Bluetooth printer, and it's actually looks better and it's cheaper in the long run than some of the other stuff that's out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Carl. I'm glad you mentioned that. I think the one caveat is so as Carly's highlighting the labels, so we are allowed at Jolt to sell our printer solution for QR code printing and for labeling. And Carly's taken advantage of that, and as she just said, she loves it and's been really successful with that. Just to clarify with the group, we're not an approved vendor at this point for labeling quite yet. We're hoping that will be the case down the road. With as maybe a phase 2 with McDonald's, but we are allowed to sell that for operators that are interested. And when we met with Carly, she asked about that and has jumped right on board and been super successful with it. So yeah, appreciate you bringing that up, Carly. And as we get into the demo with Travis, we'll kind of show you where that is at on the tablet as well. So awesome. Well, why don't we transition over to Travis to actually do a demo of the software itself. What you're going to see is he'll be showing kind of a simulator of a tablet with Jolt, the Jolt app already applied to it. We'll kind of do kind of an overview of that and walk you through how temping and list completion takes place within that simulator. And we'll kind of show you some of the back end as well in the web portal so you can understand more how the configuration is done on the back end, and continue to hear some great success stories from Carly on this as well. So with that, we'll hand it over to Travis, and then we'll definitely allow for some formal Q&A last 5 minutes or so for other questions that are coming in towards the end. Okay, Travis, we'll hand it over to you.
Yep, thank you, Ryan. And of course, Carly, as we're going through this, if there's something that you've liked or had a positive or success with as I go through the product demo, feel free, cut me off. Want to make sure we get your opinions out as well of how this has been working. So currently on the tablet, just a quick recap. This is on an iPad. Again, it can be on an Android tablet as well. That you will be able to use either device that you would like. Now, looking here just to kind of give you some context of what you're seeing. So on the top right corner is currently where people would log in. Carly mentioned earlier that being able to have that accountability of who's actually taking the temperatures, who's using the pyrometer, who is not, that's a big thing for training purposes. So in Jolt, you do have to log in. If you don't want that ability, you can just have a generic login. I strongly recommend that you don't, and you do have all of your managers have logins that they log in. Now, on the left side is the navigation. So you can see that there's home, lists, library, logbook, labels, sensors, reports, people, tools, and settings. The big ones for digital food safety are going to be lists as well as reports. Logbook and library are going to be those extra things if you want to have additional help or if you need training videos, as Carly was talking about. Inside of the library, that's where you can find the food safety manuals. You'll see that there's actually some that come pre-built. So food safety manuals, integrations, if you need to go into Fred or your waste management as you go through there. Then there are some that you can actually add in yourself as an operator. So there's the GSRG food safety binder, an acronym that I don't currently fully understand. I'm guessing it's Gold State Restaurant Group. But inside of here, you can actually click, and there's a food safety binder that Carly's updated that is specific to her group. So each operator has the ability to take the McDonald's HQ default content and add your own training videos that you may need. Maybe there's something unique to how you do food safety in your state or your county. There's training videos that you can create as well for your staff. And then, so let me come back over here to lists as we work through this. Now, this is in the actual account. So looking here, we can see that we have a today and as well as a date of 4/26/2020 that has the MFSPV. Now, this location has already completed their DFS startup and breakfast for the day, so they're not currently appearing because the tablet and the app is designed in a way to have you see what you need to, and that way you can actually complete it. You'll notice here that the list is set up to occur at 9:33 a.m. and it's due, with this little April 21st, at 11:30 a.m. So unlike paper, where if there is a list that somebody forgot to actually write down the temperatures or that pencil whipping, this eliminates pencil whipping later in the day if somebody forgot to do the temperature as they work through this. Now, their list is currently customized to be for their location. So you won't see any frozen beef in here. You'll notice that as we look through the 4x1, we have Platons 1, 2, 3, and 4. It does go all the way up to 6 or 7 if you need to, as well as if you have multiple McNuggets or crispy chickens, that can all be customized and configured. So we're going to come into temp 10x1 beef patties Platon number 1. Now I've preloaded some answers in here just for time's sake. We can see a cook time of 88 seconds, a run size of 8, and then we go into the actual temperatures of temp beef patty number 1. Now, some cases and some operators prefer to actually have their device in more of a horizontal way just because it's easier for them to see. They can also go portrait, depending on how you want to do it. If you have a special case that has a kickstand or anything along those lines. So looking through here, everything is safe so far. Now on temp beef patty number 4, I'm going to click inside of this and we're going to notice a few things. We're going to see that there's the safety range for range 1, and then there's the quality range for range 2. Now, I don't have currently an MFT pyrometer on me, and maybe I may have broken the pyrometer. Maybe it ran out of batteries. Things happen. You're in a restaurant. There is a default setting that is allowed for a GM or higher to override. This can be customized at the operator's level, but if we click on this little calculator, up pops a way to manually enter it in. And we're going to have this actually fail. So we're going to say 147. It's below that food safety range. Click record. And you're going to notice here that it says corrective action. Now, from here, the question of did beef patties pass food safety is automatically being answered. It can't be faked, can't just be circled and say yes, because it is calculating that for the user. Now, if I want to click submit items, and I just don't want to do corrective action, this list is still showing as incomplete. Let me come back here and just show that as an example. So it's an incomplete list, even though the items have been completed, because the purpose of food safety isn't just to complete the task, it's to complete the task in a safe way. So we'll click inside of it. I'm going to do the corrective action steps. Maybe I'm a new kitchen manager. Maybe the process has changed recently. All this information here is preloaded. So you can just come in, complete those steps that you need to. You'll notice that Jolt Tester, as I'm completing these, it'll say 1009, 1009, 1009. And up here, it'll say it's synced at 1009. So if the tablet loses Wi-Fi or loses the data plan that you may have, just loses connection to the cloud in any way, it will still store that data. And as soon as it connects back up, it will resync that data. So I'm going to click submit and repeat. And now I'm into my second run for doing food safety. And this will function the exact same as it would if it was a first run. While that's happening, maybe I want to go do Platon number 2 while I'm waiting for another employee or myself to do that. So we'll go to 10 by 1 beef patties Platon number 2. Select this one. This is an example of quality. So I know sometimes there is confusion of, do I have to do corrective action on quality or food safety? We never have to answer that question. It will automatically tell you. So from here, again, we'll go in. We'll select the temperature. We're going to make this one too hot. We're going to say 200 degrees. Click record. And we're going to notice that there's these Q icons here for quality. So yes, it passed food safety. And no, it did not pass food quality. Now from here, you'll notice the corrective action has actually changed. It's not red. It has a little yellow yield sign. And this is a optional corrective action saying, if you would like to, you can do corrective action. If not, just click submit and move on. Actually, before I click submit, I do want to show, if you look at temp beef patty number 4, you'll see there's a little probe icon here, the pyrometer. This is grayed out, meaning that I've manually entered those in. In a little bit, I'll show you what it looks like if somebody actually is using the Bluetooth pyrometer. It'll be blacked and kind of stands out a little more. So I'll click submit. We can see that this Platon number 2 has actually been completed. Everything is good to go. It's safe in that regard. Now, from here, if I want to see the temperatures from yesterday or earlier today, there's a few ways to do that. One is if I come over here to history. So inside of history, there's an advanced filter if I want to. I'll just say last 7 days. Click close on there. We can see the completion percentage for this date range that I'm looking at of last 7 days. If I want to go to just a specific day, we can go to April 21st. We can see in here that we have the breakfast and startup already completed. We can see who's completed those items. You can also see the one that I've been testing and showing in this webinar as well. So everything is syncing together. I do want to go into breakfast. We can see that Christina Bird is completing this. I click inside of it. We can notice that the time of when these items are completed, and you'll notice here that the pyrometer is a more black, more bold. So the pyrometer was used during that time. Again, this is in the history tab. If you want to see more of a larger date range, or if you want to have pre-built or pre-saved reports instead of going day by day or using that filter that I was showing, on the left, you can actually click on this reports tab. Now, when we talk about Jolt's supposed to help eliminate that anxiety when you have an unannounced food safety visit, or sometimes a GM gets scared if a supervisor shows up and the supervisor has to take time to dig in and see, all right, where's the paper? Where's the completion for this one? Maybe do some math. It's not as easy with paper. So we'll come in here to the DFS last 60 days. These are pre-built. You could build your own if you wanted to. Say you're doing shift management and you want to review the pre-shift for the last 7 days. You can do that quickly if you have team meetings. So we'll go DFS last 60 days, click into this. We can see the percentage here of 99.62%. Nice work, Carli. I do want to take a question to ask you here, Carli. When it comes to the percentage in this location, again, it's really big in change management. How often would you say your GMs or supervisors are actually looking at the reports in Jolt? Do you know?
Yeah, the supervisors get an email each day. And then the restaurant managers, we haven't set them up to get emails quite yet, only because it might be a little bit overwhelming to get all of that data on their days off. But the supervisors definitely communicate each day to the restaurant managers. Those that are more proactive go into the reports and actually look at them. So I know you said good job, but 99.62 is not good enough. 100% or nothing. It's food safety. This is a big deal, especially with coronavirus stuff going on. We want to make sure that we're all food safe and we don't have any other issues going on. So what we did notice during all of this happening in the last month, so part of the reason why it was late was because we changed our times. And so what we did is go into the lists on my side, on my desktop, and edited the time so that the lists, if we didn't open a restaurant until, 10 o'clock because we had no sales until 11, that did impact that. So you can really quickly go in, make a change, just like for limited menu, same situation, remove, grilled chicken or whatever the case may be, and it'll shoot down to the restaurants pretty quickly. And then you get back to the 100% that we like.
Thank you, Carli. She made a comment there that's pretty important. So with Jolt, again, we're very big on allowing for active managerial control. So this concept of a location was working through the process. They were doing the list. Things were completed late. We can see here that the DFS breakfast was completed at 100%, but it was late for a few times. Again, what happened is a manager or somebody with a higher authority actually would go and review the reports, ask the kitchen staff, hey, why is this late? What's happening here? And then the staff would reply, well, it's occurring at the wrong time. Now, Carli and her staff, they're great in the sense of on the web portal in Jolt. Again, we're looking at the app here that people will use to execute and complete tasks. In the actual web portal, you can go in and change when lists display, when lists are due, what items occur. And so you can make for a quick change. She brought up the grilled chicken. There's also buttermilk crispy tenders. With everything going on right now with the pandemic, the ability to change and alter the list, instead of having to send an email, we can work you through it and help you. Or you can just make that change yourself, and it's store specific. We're really big on empowering that just to ensure that everybody's good. As an example here, Carli, just say you wanted to dig in a little deeper. You could dig through here, find the ones that were late, select those, find the user and go talk to that employee, Christina Bird, and say, hey, what's happening here? Why is this late? What's going on? Maybe there's something that day that caused it. If somebody wants to review how to complete the items, how to configure that information, let's say it's 3 a.m. in the morning, you really don't want to call support even though we are available, and you want to change things yourself, you can go to the library, click training videos, and then from here you can actually click on the getting started, and then you have configuring Jolt to your store. And you have the ability to go through and actually watch these training videos that will show you how to do this information, how to change and alter. The training videos can be found on the web portal as well, if you would like. I did want to show one more thing before I switch over to the admin web portal. I know we're getting close on time, but when it comes to the list, a common thing that occurs as well is, let's say one of the Platons is broken. Let's say one of the clamshell tops, it's really slow at coming down or it's making a grinding noise. Instead of having to call maintenance and say, hey, here's everything that's happening, please come in, and then somebody else having to repeat all of that, the workflow for it, so we'll say beef patties, Platon number 3 is having issues. You can click on these 3 dots here. We can click out of order, and this is now out of order. It doesn't impact reporting. It doesn't hinder anything there. And then you could even take a note as well. So I'm going to go to add entry. I'm going to say, time show grinding. You can take a video of this if you're struggling with typing, as I apparently was. You can take a picture of what's happening and you can mark it as a flagged post. This stays on the list for reporting purposes. as well as over here in the logbook, you can see that there's a little badge to go and actually see what's going on inside of this. So just another tool and resource that's there. Again, with Jolt, there's a lot you can do, but the biggest thing is when it comes to rolling it out, there's customer success managers, there's support to help you learn how to crawl, and then can help you walk and speed up. As Carli mentioned, they haven't turned on notifications for the GMs yet because they don't want to overwhelm them. You can go at your own pace of what's best for you and your staff as you guys work through Jolt. I did want to switch over to the admin web portal just to show a few
Travis,
things. Ryan?
Can I just chime in? One thing on that logbook, just to add this, we had another client who actually was saying, hey, sometimes we have like customer complaints or issues that from a customer or something, and we want to, maybe comp them with a free Big Mac next time they come in or something. And they said, we'd love to be able to do that in Jolt. And we basically, the CSM talked to them and said, yeah, you can use the logbook for that and basically put those posts there. And then the next person on the next shift will see that. And so anyway, I think it's really important to highlight. I'm glad you're showing the logbook because there's a lot of great features there that can really be used super effectively, that other McDonald's operators are now using it to be able to, almost as a communication tool across shift managers to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Whether it's a clam not closing or whatever, like you said there, or if it's Ryan Jensen had pickles on his Big Mac. Good, there you go. That's a good example. So anyway, it's a great feature. I'm glad you called that out.
Perfect.
Travis,
And
before you go into the platform, are you able to go back into the library really quick?
Of course.
So you were right, GSRG's Golden State Restaurant Group.
Yes.
But as we were having this call, I was thinking, why not just add everybody's Serve Safe and all of our health department visits right here into the platform? We have our food safety binder, so when EcoSure or the health department comes in, the restaurant manager or the shift manager grabs the tablet to be able to show food safety, but also is able to show our binder, which has all the questions that they need to be able to answer. But if we have their Serve Safe certificates just scanned and popped in there too, it's all in one place. And if there is a visit where, we don't have a manager that's super confident, the tablet will walk them through the whole visit very easily.
And Carli, can I ask a question here?
Mm-hmm.
That information, is that, like, should everybody have access to that, or only certain employees that would be using Jolt should have access to that information?
Probably just certain information or certain employees. You probably don't want everybody. Well, I mean, it's all public knowledge, so I guess anybody would be fine. But if you could lock it down, that would be helpful just because.
Yep. So just in case if you ever do add any information that is only applicable to X people, so maybe there's how to handle sexual harassment or how to write an employee up, how to do any of those type of things that maybe a kitchen manager, maybe somebody below doesn't have need to see, but a GM does. You could actually go in and create categories, and you could then lock that category where it only appears for people within a certain role or position as well. So that can be locked down too if you need to hide it. And if you do need to make a video, you can do so as well using the iPad. Anything else that you wanted me to show, or anything that we haven't talked about yet, Carli, that's beneficial on the tablet itself?
Just that it's really easy to use.
Perfect. That's what we love to hear. And if there's any times that it's not easy to use, please let us know. We take feedback seriously. We make changes. We work with other operators, different companies, as Ryan showed. We're very big on trying to make life easier for everybody as well. Okay, well, I'm going to switch over to the admin web portal. Okay, so looking here, you should see the training section. So inside of the web portal, and anybody who signs up with Jolt or is using Jolt, the first place that they ever log into and get dropped in is this training area. These are custom videos built with McDonald's in mind. We can see on the right side, these are the videos of connecting your hardware, completing digital food safety lists, configuring Jolt to your store, adding your employees in additional locations. So Carli mentioned they've created a Google form to add managers. That's something they've done unique to them. There's a video that will talk about how to walk through and add those employees. You can go through and watch these basic videos. Once you finish watching the videos, or if you want additional training, we do have more in-depth training videos, best practices rolling out Jolt to your team. And since worldwide wasn't able to happen, there will be more and more videos that roll out as we start hearing more and more that people would like to have. You can schedule for webinars like we're doing right here, as well as schedule a call with somebody at Jolt to walk you through those processes. On the left is the navigation. So currently we can see that there's training, there's reporting that we have. So if we click on reporting, this will actually take us to a reporting dashboard where you can keep track of what's my percentage of completion? What is the probe report? What stores are using the pyrometer? Who's not? What's happening? Maybe I want to dig in and see a day or a calendar view of all these reports. I have selected over here the completion report. So looking here, we can see, let me actually go to some different filters that we have. So if I go over here to Farad. Now this is looking last 60 days. Well, obviously, as Carli mentioned, they started in some stores first. And with that said, some of these stores actually are just getting up and running. So the data is a little different there. Well, notice if we go into, say, last week or this week, where we can see Elk Grove, they're crushing and dominating it as they work through this. There are saved filters to break it up by patches and supervisors. So for Angelica, she doesn't have to go in and filter through everything. She can quickly go to her stores and see how they're doing, dig in and find out, oh, here is the store, here's the problem, here's the employee that's been working, here's the employee that's struggling, and kind of work through those as they happen. Carli, anything that you want to highlight on the completion report or any other reporting as well?
So you're right on like what you were just showing. Laguna Springs, they were closed for construction, just recently opened. So when you filter the dates, you'll actually be able to see different information. So if I don't want to see Laguna Springs anymore, I'm going to go to the last couple of days. Okay, well, I know that they're launching tomorrow, so let's see what changes with that circle.
And along with that, you can also hide the locations if you need to. And again, just to ensure what's happening in your business. And again, every operations has a different process that they work through. A store could be closed, a store, maybe they have new management and there just needs to be some change. So many different things can happen. Where Jolt is supposed to help and will help you is it'll give you the information for you to work and figure out what's happening, and then allow you to use Jolt to help fix that problem. As well as Carli's mentioned a few times with managers working together, working through the process and going on through. I know, Ryan, you wanted to leave some time for Q&A. We're kind of at that 5-minute left mark. Is there anything else you wanted me to show, or is there any questions that have come in?
No, I think this has been great. I think one thing to highlight on here, that I don't know if it was mentioned, that each operator, like Carli building these filters can be created for yourself. So really there's so much robust functionality within the reporting to create filters, for your individual patch supervisors, like you just showed there, or other filters with reports that you want to actually appear on the tablet itself, right? So anyway, just a lot of great functionality there. I'm glad you kind of showed that. Yeah, so I think what we want to do at this point, let's just check to see if there are any questions. I'm going to hand it over to Britton, and then basically we kind of want to open it up for Q&A in the last 4 or 5 minutes we have here for any questions that have come in. So Britton, let's hand it over to you we can kind of go through those questions. If those questions are directed at any of the three of us, we're happy to answer those questions for a few minutes here.
Okay, perfect. So a couple of these questions were already answered throughout the presentation, but there are a few left over that we can answer in the last 5 minutes. So one of them, the first one, we know that owner-operators and their organizations are busy. Can you tell us about the time commitment that was or was not required to get Jolt up and running?
Great question. I think maybe, Carli, do you want to speak to your experience? I know your situation was a little unique because you signed up as part of the pilot group. Was there any expectation on timing from corporate or from within your group that you set for the team, or was there anything that you could speak to on that question?
So there wasn't necessarily any timing constraints from McDonald's. When we first set up on the beta test, it was kind of like, hey, we want to sign you up. And then we got no information other than here's how you sign up and just go for it. From our standpoint of launching the entire organization, we wanted to do so in a way that, one, it wasn't going to leave us halfway through a paper food safety book and then halfway in Jolt, so that it would confuse really the auditors and the health department. They don't really like change. So we made sure that it was on the end of the month to start for week 1, week 2, and kind of train. So we did have some restaurants in their first couple weeks, they were doing both the book and the digital food safety if they weren't aligned right on the end of the month. And that actually really helped us because you could see, you could actually point out and show, see, this is where this would go. This is where it is on digital food safety. So from a timeline perspective, it was pretty easy to set up the people. We did that form, copy and paste it, throw it in. We did the Google form through Jolt for setting up the restaurants. So it really was just setting allotting the time to really do shoulder-to-shoulder training.
That's awesome. I think I would add one more thing. That's a great tip about the timing of the flow of the month as well. One thing I would add from a customer success standpoint, we try to have a kickoff call with every operator who signs up with us, and we typically let them know that we want to know what success criteria they have and what timing goals they have. But from our vantage point, our goal is to see every operator with a flagship store or with whatever stores they're initially starting with. We want them to get to 3 days consecutive usage of at least 80% or better with their DFS list. And then we want to see them at a 14 days consecutive usage at that 90 to 100% completion range. And then ultimately, once operators in their stores have been on 30 consecutive days of usage, then you're seeing data like you're seeing with Carli's group, where it's at or near 100%. And I love, Carli, that you were not accepting 99.62%. That's awesome. But yeah, that's kind of our goal from an implementation standpoint. And we try to guide all of our operators along that path once they sign up with us. So great question.
Okay, one more question. It looks like this one will be good for Carli as well. They ask, what advice would you give to operators who are still getting up to speed on digital food safety?
You can't break the platform, so just go in and play with it. I usually have it up, well, especially when we were starting, I had it up multiple times a day, just kind of messing around with the platform and seeing what we can do. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Greg, I emailed him this morning and said, hey, I have a question on something. He got back right away. But just messing around with it and seeing what you can do. The platform has so much in it that even now, 2 of our restaurants have been on it for 6 months, and we haven't really opened the whole box. It might be scary, but the Jolt team's definitely there to help you and support you no matter what.
Awesome. I know we're at time. Carli, maybe just any last words you would share or advice for, there's a lot of operators out there with McDonald's that have yet to make a decision as to what they're going to do with DFS. Any parting words or recommendations you would have for those folks on the call or that are going to tune into the recording later?
Yeah, we did actually go through the process with both platforms, and we chose Jolt for a reason. I'm happy to field calls or emails for anybody that wants to ask specific questions. But you have to actually take into account what you really want to get out of the platform. It's just food safety. Do you just want to be able to punch in the time and not really care about reporting or correcting or making sure that it's accurate? I wouldn't want that. But if you want to do something that can go above and beyond and really help your team become more efficient and effective in their jobs, you're going to save time and labor, energy, and just have happier people overall, I would go with Jolt.
Awesome, Carli. Well, hey, I know we're at time. I really appreciate you joining us today. Travis, thanks so much for the demo walkthrough. Carli, can't thank you enough for your time and all the great things your team is doing. And appreciate you kind of throwing that out there as well. If operators are still making decisions, Carli's offered to connect with you, and we're happy to also connect you with other operators as well that are using Jolt to kind of pick their brains on what's been successful for them and what's worked well. So we're happy to facilitate that. We do have a version of this webinar going throughout the rest of this next week with other operators across the country that are using Jolt that are joining us. Again, we want to thank Carli for her time today. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.